They say you should stay at home, but you don't care for the TV soaps. So Jacqueline, you're invincible. Falling into the olden days, but you don't care for the old cliches. So Jacqueline, I know you know, but it's hard to make sense of the movie when you're in the starring role. Jacqueline, oh, Jacqueline, oh, you're invincible, no one can try you, rise, it's up to you. Jacqueline, oh, oh. Jacqueline, when you sleep deprived, you see through your mother's eyes and all of the things she knew. So don't listen to anyone between you and the setting sun. You're doing the best you can do, but it's hard to make sense of the movie when you're in the starring role. Jacqueline, oh, Jacqueline, oh, you're invincible, no one can try you, rise, it's up to you. Jacqueline, oh, oh. The good times, oh well, they're coming round the bend. The good times, oh well, they're coming round the bend. Good times, oh well, they're coming. The good times, oh well, they're coming round the bend. The good times, oh well, they're coming round the bend. The good times, oh well, they're coming round the bend. The good times, oh well, they're coming round the bend. Jacqueline, oh, Jacqueline, oh, you're invincible, no one can try you, rise, it's up to you. Jacqueline, oh, 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 oh.
That was Circa with Jacqueline. Sorry for the minor tech issues there. I hopefully am back in sync again, trying to get that sorted out. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. Please welcome the wonderful Kieran from Circa Waves. Hello, mate. How are you? I'm good, thank you, buddy. How are you? I already asked you that. I'm just. How are you? Are you really well?
I'm super well, to be honest, mate. Doing pretty good.
Are you? What, have you got a football or something?
I do. I currently have a football. Yeah, actually, you know what? It's a soccer AM ball, which you only get if you've been on 3 times. So I've got one. Look out.
What, this old thing? Just.
Oh, what this old thing? Sorry, just playing with this football. Don't worry about it.
So let's jump straight into Jacqueline. Should we talk about that song? It's from your album
Sure.
Sad Happy. Tell us about that and how it came to be.
Well, I was like listening to a lot of Paul Simon at the time, so I wanted to make something a bit sort of Gracelandy vibes. And I had like this riff, like the riff that's in Jacqueline, like the doom 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 doom, and then just started like yelling stuff. And then at one point I yelled Jacqueline, and my wife went, "That's good," and I said, "I think so too," and I kept it, and then I wrote the song in about 10 minutes, which all the good ones seem to be very quick. So Jacqueline was definitely one of them.
Yeah, I think that you hear that quite a lot, that the best songs are written super quickly. Do you use your wife quite a lot as a gauge for what's good and what's not?
I do. People who like aren't musicians and like are the best gauges of like whether a song is just good or not. Like any like new musicians out there, I would tell them to show their new songs to like the mum and dad and stuff, because your mum and dad are just gonna be like, yeah, it's good, yeah, I like it. They're not gonna think about like if it's got cool guitar bits in it. They just like don't care about that.
Yeah, I suppose sometimes when you you show it to other musician friends, they can pick up on other stuff that, you know, people like me who don't understand music like a musician wouldn't pick up on, like all the intricacies and even some of the thematic stuff. Somebody who's not a musician is just going to tell you whether or not they like it or not. You're going to get much more blunt feedback.
Yeah, and I think like especially like in like commercial music, that's all you need. Like you don't, you know, if we were making like acid jazz, maybe then you'd need like the ear of a qualified musician. But with what we're making, it's just like, you know, it's music to entertain you. You need everyone to like it.
Yeah. And so when it comes to writing stuff, was there a decision to make this a double album? Like, was there a pivotal moment that you thought this needs to be in 2 parts?
Well, I think I wrote the song "Sad Happy," and then with the album started coming together, and it felt like there was a happy side and a sad side, as obvious as that seems. And so we thought, like, what if we just split them up? And then it was like, well, what if we just, in the current climate of being able to release music on like Spotify and all of these streaming platforms, Amazon and all that, and we were able to release it in 2 sections, really, because of the way music is put out now. So we just thought we'd experiment a little bit with how we put our songs to people.
And how do you feel like the 2 halves speak to each other?
How do they speak to each other? Well, I mean, like the first half feels like very like traditional circa waves. If you like the first record, you're probably going to like the first half. And then the second half is a lot more experimental and a bit more songwritery and stuff that you wouldn't necessarily usually hear on like a circa waves traditional record.
Well, that's interesting that you felt like you wanted to experiment away from the traditional way that you make stuff. Do you always kind of, when you're making something new, do you always endeavor to take listeners on a bit more of a journey, or was this like a decision for this one that you wanted to do that?
No, to be honest, I just write what I feel like and hope that the people who listen to our band like it. I really struggle to write music in the same vein as music I've always written. As soon as we finished that first record, I wanted to write something heavier, and the second record was heavier, and then the third record was even more different than that. So I never really stick to one thing. I'm quite sort of like impatient when it comes to moving forward. So I'm just surprised we've still got a fan base, to be honest.
Well, you were saying to me before the show started, when we were having a bit of a chat, that you write multiple songs a day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of bad music happens in this room. Like 3 ideas a day, depending on what I'm doing. I'm obsessed with making music. I just love it. The fact that I get to do it for a career is bonkers to me. So I wake up really early and make music all day because I'm afforded that luxury. So I don't take it for granted whatsoever, and I just love making new sounds and the idea that any day of the week you might write a hit is like so exciting to me.
That is, yeah. So just having that creative process every day is something you're like, I mean, for me, I have a similar feeling, which is that I'll every day wake up and be like, I might not get to do this forever, so I'm going to take advantage of it now.
Yeah, I think that's like anyone in our position or anyone who works in creative industries who is lucky enough to do this for a job shouldn't take it with a pinch of salt. I mean, obviously we've seen with COVID, like no one's taking it with a pinch of salt now because everyone's out of work. But I feel dead lucky to be able to do what I do. So I try and make the most of it, you know.
And it came out just before lockdown, this album, didn't it?
Yeah, we were in Sheffield when Boris told everyone to go home. We were about to do a gig. So like we sound checked and there was people queuing up and everything. And we got told we couldn't do the show basically, so we had to cancel it.
I literally was about to ask, did you get to play the show? And was it like one last hurrah? But no, they cancelled the show when people were lining up to get in.
Yeah, man. Like I felt awful. There was like a lot of people outside, and I mean, to be honest, that week when COVID was really kicking off, I remember being in the venues, like hundreds of people, and being a bit like, this is mad. We probably shouldn't be doing this. And then we pretty soon after that stopped. But we didn't know what he realised how mad it was going to become, you know.
Yeah. I mean, here we are. What is it? 8 months later, nobody
Yeah,
saw.
absolutely bonkers.
So for you, like, I mean, obviously getting a show cancelled isn't nice, but then having the album come out just before it all hits, how did that affect what you were planning to do for the release of this new album?
We were lucky enough to do some shows at least, but we had like our big UK tour with like the biggest gigs we booked, like Brixton Academy, and this big Liverpool festival I booked for like a whole day of gigs in Liverpool. That all got cancelled. European tours cancelled, American tours cancelled, every festival cancelled. It's our livelihood gone down the drain. You know what I mean? It's like we every band now makes money off gigs. That's all they make money off. So, you know, you're just in this mad position where you're just waiting in this weird limbo of hoping that we can do some shows again, because if we don't, there'll be no bands. You know what I mean? No one can like afford to live anymore.
And what did you do in place of it? Have you been doing any sort of online gigs or anything like that?
I've done like at the start of lockdown, I did like lots of like Instagram Live, a few like covers and stuff, but that sort of like gradually dwindled away as people became like bored of that sort of thing. So I don't know. I mean, everyone's trying to think of things to do to, you know, keep putting music out there. So we released like Lemonade, which was our single, which we put out a month ago or whatever, and that was just something to put out there. So we still felt like a band, and we weren't just sat at home twiddling our thumbs till we could play live again, really.
And I just want to ask you one more question about writing, just for me, really. This is kind of something that's quite general, but I'm just wondering, like, what the writing process is for you. Is it because you say you write songs very often? So I'm wondering, like, is there a routine to that? Is there something that you try every time, or is it just like a new way of being inspired every time that you write something?
Well, it's weird. Like, the longer you write songs for, the worse you get at it in a way. Like like, you know what I mean? Like, all the best songs are like written by young people, because everything's fresh. Like, a guitar, when you're
not thinking too hard about it.
You're not thinking too hard. When you're like 19 years old, a guitar is like this magical thing, and the older you get used to it. And like, so I buy loads of different guitars, because they all inspire me to write different kinds of things. I often just like produce tracks now, so I'll make like drum tracks and build music around it before I've even picked up an acoustic guitar, and just try and write songs in more of a sort of pop way, if you will. Like write a whole track and then write a top line on top of that. Just different ways to trick your brain into sort of being excited again. Really, the next thing
we're going to hear from you is the second track that you recorded is one of your earliest best of tracks. It's a T-shirt weather. We're going to hear T-shirt weather. So do you want to say it? Do you want to? Can you hear me again now? Sorry, we had some tech issues there.
Sorry.
There we go. So I was just saying the next thing that we're going to hear is one of your earliest and best love tracks, which is called T-shirt weather. So is there anything you'd like to say about it before we see the performance?
I would love to write another song like T-shirt weather, because it's a great tune. Say no more. So without further ado, this is Circa Waves. Well, Kieran from Circa Waves with T-shirt weather on the Amazon Music Sessions. Enjoy.
She left me inside. Baby, won't you come to bed? But I cannot sleep while the sun's awake, and the night's been so long. You don't get me right, don't get me wrong. Now my head tells the tales I hardly know. But I remember T-shirt weather. I remember some days we were singing our lungs out 17 went far too quick, and when my mind plays tricks, I have to go. Oh, but I remember t-shirt weather. I remember some days we were singing our lungs out in the backseat together, and the seatbelts were burning our fingers in the t-shirt weather. I remember sleeping till the early afternoon. Oh.
That was T-shirt Weather by Circa Waves. We're here with Kieran from Circa Waves. How does it feel to be performing stuff alone without the band?
I'm not a massive fan of it. I'm going to be honest. I'm very much like not. I'm like a sort of reluctant frontman. Really, I like to have people around me to like take off the pressure. So anytime I have to perform anything on my own, like be it this or like a radio or anything, like I'm always just dead nervous. So like it doesn't come natural to me, to be honest. I'm not like a guy who's desperate to be on stage or anything. But I think like I'm always quite proud of it once I've finished it and I can watch it and go, oh, that sounds like a good song. But it takes me a minute to sort of get used to it.
So do you enjoy being on stage then?
Say again, sorry.
Do you enjoy being on stage?
Yeah, I do. Like, I mean, when it's working, when it's like feels like you're in the middle of a tour and you're sort of hitting the perfect time and everyone's working together and it feels like you're just unstoppable. That's like the best feeling, like when you all have amazing gigs each night and just hearing people sing the songs that I write in this little room, hearing 3,000 people scream the words back is like, it's the greatest drug in the world. There's nothing that beats it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that must be immense to be able to hear that sort of stuff. Have you ever had one of those, like what I would call Robbie Williams moments where you stop singing and then let the crowd lead the way?
You know what? I've started writing more songs where that's available. Like that bit in the Killers tune where it's like, I got sober, but I'm not like the crowd moment,
encouraging
like,
the chant.
Yeah, man. Like in the middle of Jacqueline, I did like that. There's like a bit that's like that because I wanted the crowd to have that moment with me. So, but we've never got to really play it live, so I don't know if it's going to work. But
well,
I'll find out.
This Twitch, everyone that's watching this Twitch stream should absolutely go to a show and make that happen, because that feels like a little dream to make come true.
Man, I if that happens, I'm going to cry. I won't be able to handle it. It'll be too much.
And you've announced a tour for March 2021. And in the light of the year that we've had, how does it feel to know that some of the dates like that is on the horizon and there's a possibility that it could be taken away from you again? Are you able to sort of just relax and see what happens, or are you feeling optimistic?
I'm probably in the similar vein to the rest of the country where I have waves of optimism amongst waves of sheer pessimism and just being like, this is never going to end. But I mean, like, we have to be hopeful, don't we? Because I mean, what will we do if we don't have live music? There's certainly a ton of people out of jobs, like promoters, technicians. Think of all the music techs in the world. Like, none of us have got qualifications. We all left school and either went on tour or joined bands. Like, we can't do anything else. So like,
but there are extremely talented people doing this.
Very talented, man.
Extremely talented people, and yeah, like it is a shame. Like, and that's why it's wonderful to have shows like this, which is like trying to at least emulate that feeling of having live music again. Because I bet, even apart from like playing shows, I bet you miss going to shows. I'm
gonna be honest with you now. I don't really go and watch gigs.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Why is that? Is that something you've never
No, I
really done?
used to, but I at some point, at some years, we've done 140 shows in a year. The last thing I want to do when I get home is go and watch another band. Like I'm done,
get
man. It's
it.
like a busman's holiday. You know what I mean? I just want to. I'd rather watch Netflix and eat burritos all night. That's my perfect.
I hear as well, like I think that's quite traditional, because I know that there's a director called Guillermo del Toro who makes
Yeah,
made,
man,
like,
he's
Pan's
amazing.
Labyrinth and things like that, very creepy, fantastical horror film. He's great. Apparently, he doesn't watch horror films because he's like, I don't need to. I don't need to.
No,
see
it's
that.
it's just it is what it is, and the love of like the thing that gets me about live music is like the kick drum. Like when you walk into a venue and you feel the kick drum, it hits you in your chest, and it's the greatest feeling ever, and you feel like at one with music or something. And like I get to feel that for like half an hour every day in sound check. Like that's enough for me. Like I've got that kick drum just like pounding. So I'm happy not to. I go to the occasional gig. Don't get me wrong. Like me and my brother went to see like Foals before lockdown, and if there's something I really want to see, I've still not seen like the Strokes or the National. They're two bands I really want to still see. So if they come into town, and I'll definitely go and see them. Like.
So your latest single is called Lemonade, and you've done 2 versions of it. So tell us about how that came about for the Amazon original.
Well, because of lockdown, we couldn't like go and rent a studio properly and all that, because we weren't allowed to be around each other. So I sort of produced it all on this, in this little setup, and the lads like emailed me up their parts. Like so, Joe sent the guitars, Sam sent the bass, Colin recorded drums in his mate's house. And I just put it all together, and then we got it mixed. So it was good, but it was a bit of a sort of, it lacked the magical process of being in a nice studio. So Amazon came along and said, "What do you want to do?" And we thought it'd be cool to rent Metropolis, which is like this magnificent recording studio. It's like, I think it's like a listed building. It's beautiful, and we just got like our mates to play strings and some more people in to play trumpets, and it was just like a new way to do the thing that we'd already done. You know, like make a sort of a more glorious version of Lemonade.
Oh, that sounds super fun to be able to do that with. And have you worked with strings and all the rest of that sort of thing before?
Yeah, we've done strings on since as soon as like we signed like a major record deal and we had like budget to pay for string musicians. I was like, I'm writing a song with strings in. So like the second record, I wrote a song with strings in, and we got like a mini orchestra and stuff like that. It's one of the very lucky things that happens when you have a bit of budget, I guess.
All right, amazing. Well, I mean, on that note, would you like to write like score, like you know, for film or whatever? Is that something that you'd be open to pursuing?
I love music and picture is like, it's one of my favorite things. Like, you know, not necessarily like strings and stuff, but just like Lost in Translation, for example. Kevin Shields did the music for that, and all the way all that works together, like the visual and the music together, is such a beautiful thing. So yeah, I would love to one day write, you know, the soundtrack to something. I don't know who would let me, but I'm very willing. I feel like this is a CV now. I'm available.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about Lemonade after this. Let's take a look at the exclusive brand new version of Lemonade on the Amazon Music Sessions. Enjoy.
Hello, we're Circa and we're at Metropolis Studios. We are recording an Amazon original of Lemonade.
Sign up for love, sign up for money, sign up for all the things you think will make you funny. Oh,
The way we made the song originally was through emails and being in our own flats. And now we've come to one of the best studios in the world, and we've got strings and horns, and we're all playing in a room, and it's cool. It's like the opposite ends of the spectrum.
secure carnivores online.
actual chorus I've had for about 2 years. It's kind of such a stupid chorus that it sticks in your head. So I thought this would be a cool one that feels like it resonates now more than ever with the lyrics, with everyone sort of struggling in this mad pandemic. So it felt like a good one to release at this time.
Sign up for you, sign up for me, sign up for a talent show where talent dies each week.
It's been on our list of places that we've wanted to record for a long time. Like, so many great records are made here.
Queen recorded the last 2 albums here, which I thought was pretty cool.
Sign up for beer, Toronto.
The strings being played earlier, I think it feels kind of triumphant.
It's easy if you try.
Just adds this like euphoric feeling to the song, taking on a new like lease of life.
We're all drinking lemonade.
My biggest benefits of the way I write is that I'm extremely impatient. So I just write dead quick. So like if it's rubbish, I'll be like, no. So I write a lot of songs, a lot of bad songs. But in doing that, you eventually get like the little gems. Being in this big studio, it would be disservice to the quality of Metropolis if we just did a regular version, so we thought we'd get a bunch of much more talented people in to show us up.
What's the most we can add? And then you start having all these ideas about strings and horns. You should have seen the list of things we did want, you know. There was going to be a full dance routine.
Is that not happening?
I'm going to have to choreograph it.
So that was an exclusive of the remake, I suppose, of Lemonade by Circa Waves. So tell me a little bit more about working on the original with Alfie Templeman. How did that relationship begin?
Via the internet. As
all great things do.
It's the future. The future's now. But yeah, just sort of speaking to him. We wanted to write music together anyway. And it just came about by me being like, hey, I've just written this song. Would you have a go at singing the verse? And then within like 5 minutes, he'd sent me back that verse that you hear on that track. So just like one of those things that happened really quickly. And now I try and explain it in a very sort of, poetic way, but it's just an Instagram message, really.
Love it. I just want to let you know as well that, because obviously you can't hear the crowd or anything at the moment, but I just want to let you know that everyone in the chat is having a lovely time.
Oh, are they?
Somebody called Melly Froggy, which is a great name, said that Circa Waves are absolutely brilliant on stage, and I had the opportunity to see them earlier this year. A very good gig. There's your review from Melly Froggy.
Well, you can't get better than that, can you?
You can't. You really
That's all I
can't.
ask.
They're very good on stage.
It's very specific, which I like.
So the Amazon original version of Lemonade is quite different from the one that you did with Alfie Templeman. And was there, I know you said earlier that you wanted to sort of like bring some strings in and all the rest of it. Was there a more of a thought process between the two versions of how you were going to separate them?
No, I don't think too much, to be honest. It's not good for my health. So I just, I mean, the main original was I base everything around drums, really. I'm like a proper drum sound geek. Like, it's all I think about. I dream of snare drums. So like the original was like more like a drum machine sound. And then the new one were the ability to get this beautiful drum kit that was in Metropolis and tune it to make it sound like this big, deep, beautiful sort of organic thing. So that's what that's like the most geeky thing ever. I know that doesn't like really interest people, but the drums were a big thing for me to make it sound quite different. So if you listen to the original and the Amazon one, it's a very different feel, and they could almost be like two different songs in a way. So yeah, drums, man, it's what I live for.
Drums as well. And you say that's not interesting to people. It absolutely is. Like the specificity of things like that, and how you've just instinctively, how you sort of follow that, you know, instinct, is very interesting to me. It tells me a lot about how you write music and you create things. I think that's great.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. I mean, I think, especially in modern times, anyone who's in a band or whatever should be experimenting with production and like, you know, making their own songs on Logic or Cubase or whatever you use, and just like become obsessed with like drum sounds, because it makes you a better songwriter.
Interesting. And we were speaking before the show a little bit, but you are a recent father.
I am.
Congratulations, first of all.
Nice one. Yeah, it was hard work.
Yeah, I imagine it is. I've nothing to compare it to currently. I'm sure that one day that might happen, but how has that changed you as a creative person? How has that shifted the way that you write music?
Well, I was quite worried because I thought before the baby arrived, I was like, am I going to write another song? Is it going to happen? And for like a couple of months, like nothing. And I was like, it's done. It's gone. That power's gone now. That doesn't exist anymore. So, and then like I had like this mad week of writing like 10 tunes, and I was like, oh, thank God, it's still available. But there's definitely
just become resentful straight away of your child. Like, you took it away from me.
This? You know, like in Friends where Chandler removes his third nipple, I thought like I'd lost that ability.
You thought you'd lost your
yeah, you know what I mean. All the people who don't watch Friends are like, what is he on about? But it like it's made me like more ambitious, I think. I wasn't sure how I would react, but now that I have like a life to support, and like it makes me want to spend more time. You know, like I get up at like 6:30 now. Like that's weird. So I write music.
That is weird.
It's not. I would never choose this. It's not my choice. It's his choice. And like, you know, so once I'm up, I'm starting to be making music by like 8 a.m. So I'm making music for a lot longer and doing a lot more, and it sort of just refines the creative process, really. So I think it's made me better. I mean, this record, people can decide whether they think it has or not. I think it has. And
has it changed the sort of the topics that you write about having a kid?
Well, I think it's quite life affirming, sort of having a child. You sort of think a lot more about what's it all about, man. You know, so it maybe there's definitely subjects that are more about that. But I can pull myself out of that quite easily and just write a song about, like, you know, having a dance and drinking loads of beer. So I've got quite a good imagination on me.
Well, we're going to do some fan questions now, if that's all right with you.
Hit me up.
So the biggest fan of the show is Sorry Dem Jackie. She. I'm not sure, actually. I've never asked. I just know this username. Sorry Dem Jackie. Her name is Jacqueline, I believe, if I'm correct. Yeah. So she has asked, what's the story behind Jacqueline?
Well, as I said, I sort of was shouting things, and Jacqueline, you know, syllabically word Jacquelino. And then so I wrote it about my cousin, actually, of all things. She is a mother, and she just had a kid, and I remember seeing her, and she was just like, she was going through a really hard time with a kid, and it made me think of like how immensely difficult it is to be like a mother in the modern day. And it just, you know, once I had the name Jacqueline, I wrote it about my cousin Jacqueline, and then I had a kid, And then all the things I'd written about happened to me, and I was like, oh my God. It was like a sort of I was seeing into the future. So it's about like being a parent, really. It's the most indie thing you can write
Well,
about.
that's really interesting though as well, that like that song has probably changed meaning for you now that you've become a parent.
Yeah, there's like a lyric in it where it says, Jacqueline, when you sleep deprived, you see through your mother's eyes. And like, I'm always sleep deprived now. And I see what my mum went through when I was a baby. So it's like, I totally understand what I was talking about before I had a kid.
Well, Melly Froggy, the person who complimented you from stage, has asked, how does Kieran feel about never having been able to play songs from Sad Happy on stage?
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird because you write the songs with a vision of certain moments. Like, as I said before, like Jacqueline in the middle eight wanting that to be like a big crowd moment. It's mad. It's completely bonkers, and it's unprecedented, really. I mean, some people like play songs live before they even record them just to test them out, and we can't even do that anymore. So I just hope that they react well. I really don't know, man. It's mad.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? To be like, I've got this album is going to be on such a delay, but hopefully that means that everyone will know it really well when you tour it. Because I found that when you go to see a band for their new album, sometimes you're like, I don't know the songs well enough yet.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually. Well, when we initially got delayed by a few months, I was like, oh, it'll give people a few months to learn the songs. But now it's like, oh, they've got over a year to learn the songs. So if the fans don't know them by the time we gig, then they're in trouble.
You'll have to answer to Kieran's child.
Oh yeah, he'll chin you. Yeah. He'll be tall enough by that point to chin you.
You don't watch out. He's from Liverpool.
Well, tough us, you know, as building this.
We're going to have to wrap things up pretty soon.
Yeah, man.
So we're going to finish off with the actual official version of Lemonade. So, and so I want to ask you about the music video for it before we see it. It's a very unique looking music video. How did that come about? Was that your idea?
No, I'm not. The guys who did the Jacqueline video, Sad Happy video, and this video, all the same. These guys called Boucher and G, and like they are like lunatics. Like the ideas they come up with are amazing. So we just say whenever we've got a song that needs a video, we're like, any ideas? So that with this one, they were like, black goo, it comes out of tellies and stuff. And we were like, yeah, man, that sounds cool. And then they
spoilers.
And then they based it off these old, I forget the photographer, but really stark, colourful, like vivid photographs. So we wore like super bright suits in like the rooms. He painted his whole dad's house all different mad colours.
I was going to ask, how did you do that? Did you build a set or something? No, he just painted his dad's house.
Yeah, Theo is like a legend. He goes above and beyond, and like his dad was about to renovate his house, so he was like, "Do you mind if I paint the whole thing like nuts colours?" Which he agreed to, obviously. So they spent like 2 weeks painting the house before we got there. These directors, man, they're putting the work in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I love it as well. I think it complements the song really well because it seemed to have this very hypnotic sort of existential 20s vibe to it. Like, you know what I mean? It felt like it was really capturing the vibe of the song for me.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
So before we see it, this is going to play us out. So if there's anything you want to say to everyone that's watching, because this is going to be the last chance. We're not going to get you back after this, unfortunately, although it's been lovely to chat to you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm gonna finish my beer. I'm gonna go and make some chili, and everyone have a nice Thursday evening.
That is a wonderful evening that you have planned ahead. Is the kid getting any chili, or is the kid
no, he's had some mushed up turnip, so he's sorted. Don't worry.
Right. Well, I'm jealous. That sounds better than
It's
chili.
not. It's disgusting.
Well, Kieran, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the Amazon Music Sessions.
Nice one.
And to play him out, we've got the official music video for Lemonade featuring Alfie Templeman. So let's take a look. Kieran, thank you so much for
Thanks
being
for
here.
having me. Nice one.
Bye.
See you later.